Hey there guys, it's Michael here. I've currently got a broken finger and I'm moving house in about 2 weeks, and I literally have a bed and a couple of clothes in the other room and my guitar, my amplifier, my desk and my computer in this room. So this video is going to be ultra low budget, but it's just about making the most of the situation at this point in time. Now guys, I'm just going to fly completely off the cuff here, but as I said, about 10 days ago, I got kicked in the hand at kickboxing sparring training, and what was initially thought to be a mild fracture, which would heal up in about 2 weeks, is actually the tendon being ripped off the knuckle bone there, and I've completely lost the use of that finger and got to wear this little cap for the next 7 weeks or so. So that's a major bummer, especially when I was just, yes, I'm about to relaunch this channel and get some cool stuff happening. Anyway guys, I don't want to waffle on for too long, because I know many of you guys say I talk way too much, but you know, if you don't have the attention span to listen to me for 10 minutes to give you some profound information about playing guitar, which will greatly accelerate your progress and help you overcome any barriers, you're really doing yourself a great disservice. But I just want to be short and sharp and as concise as possible. And big shout out to the channel Guitarman. Sorry, not Guitarman, Guitarvan. He's a dude called Arvin. He sits down in his living room and teaches you how to play jazz. And he's inspired you guys. He's inspired me to show you guys my hairy legs while I play guitar. So just deal with it. I know I'm hairy. You're just going to have to put up with it. But if you listen to what I say, it's going to really, really help your guitar playing, especially if you yourself are suffering from an arm injury or some sort of hand problem there. So guys, in this video, I want to give you 10 ways that you can still help improve your guitar playing when you've got some sort of guitar-related injury. Now, this works with piano players or any instrument, but essentially, playing your instrument is only a small portion of being an instrument or a guitar player, so to speak. And there are so many things you can do without the guitar in your hand, which can still help you improve your musicianship skills. So again, for all you ADHD guys who can't focus for more than 2 minutes, I'm going to put all the playing exercises at the start. They're coming right up. And then if you actually care about improving your guitar playing and you have an attention span and you want to improve and get better at guitar, and figure out a whole bunch of things you can do to improve outside of your guitar playing, whether you've got an injury or not, I'm going to go through another 9 things at the end. So basically, guys, the last little disclaimer is I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. If you have any sort of hand injury or any sort of pain, stop playing and take a break for an hour or so. If you come back to playing after an hour and the pain comes back straight away, then stop playing, have a 2 or 3 day break, and potentially go see a doctor. If you have a 2 or 3 day break and the pain comes back, you've got some sort of RSI-based injury, go and see a doctor or a medical professional. Now, all this advice should be used under supervision or with the advice of the professional, especially when it comes to playing from someone who has had multiple surgeries. It's not my first rodeo. I've had carpal tunnel, cubital tunnel injuries with both elbows, wrists, arms, you name it. It's not worth the injury. Like, this thing's going to set me back for 8 weeks. The other surgery I couldn't play for over 2.5 years. It's not worth it. So my passion is literally helping other guitar players, and more specifically guitar players who have injuries, overcome those injuries. Again, I'm not a medical professional, but these are all the things that worked for me and allowed me to continue to improve even when I couldn't play. And I had that burning desire. Like when the doctor said, you might have to get another hobby, guitar playing just isn't for you because you're not going to be able to play for another 18 months. Like, I was like, find me a new doctor. Find me a doctor who can help me. And long story short, here we are a couple of years later, almost a decade since my first surgery, with the biggest guitar school in Australia, with multiple international tours, 5 CDs to my name. And that silly doctor told me I should go find a new hobby. Anyway, guys, what you should do, the number one thing when you have a hand injury, is just practice with the other hand. So if you have an injury to your fretting hand, then what you should do is practice your picking hand in isolation. If you have an injury to your picking hand, practice your fretting hand in isolation. Now, what I've been doing tons of the last couple of weeks is some legato-based exercise, because I can't really use my picking hand all that much. I have been doing tons of legato-based stuff. And I've been having a blast doing all these really, really fun little ideas. All that kind of stuff, tons and tons of fun. Joe Satriani stuff galore. I know this is all making really sloppy, but I've just been picking legato exercises and trying to do them because I can manage not bending my finger and just doing one pick here and there. The other thing that you can do is just focus on really small, efficient movements. So even if I aren't picking the scale, for example, if I'm going like this, I'm picking and hammering there, of course, but if I was just to basically run my finger through the scales or any technical exercise, what I can do without picking or triggering a sound is basically just focus on small movement. If you want to play faster, the key is not to move your fingers faster, it's to move your fingers less. And if you can't use your picking hand, you don't even need to produce sound. You're basically just training your fingers to move in an ultra efficient manner, stay close to the fretboard, and you can do this till the cows come home without having to ever pick or make a sound. So even though you can't physically get the gratification of I can hear this sound and it's going to reinforce and make me feel good, you can actually look and watch and train yourself to have micro movements. Likewise, you can do the isolation exercises. You can start getting your fingers coordinated. Any of those John Petrucci based exercises or any technical exercise, again, you can just run through it without, we're not trying to legato it and do it with hammer-ons. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but any of these scales, sequences, anything like that, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from just practicing them really slow and trying to basically, you can do that like, you know, the spider, the crab, all these exercises, you can do them all with or without a metronome with one hand. You're not picking, but you're still training the coordination and building that finger dexterity. You can basically do chord shapes. You can just try and memorize chord shapes and practice switches with one hand. All of these things, like don't let not being able to pick that and make a sound stop you from doing basic exercises. It's really, really simple. Now, if it's the other hand, yeah, you can't really fret anything, but basically what you could do, I mean, like, idea, guys, straight off the cuff. What if you've got like an EBO or some sort of sustainer? You can still do slide lines and things like that. So there's still stuff you can do. If you have a fretting hand injury and all you can focus on picking, you can practice picking patterns in isolation. So for example, the most basic thing I can do is just try and get my alternate picking. Or my tremolo picking as small and as fast and as precise as possible. If I normally practice a scale line, so if I've got that as a scale line, what I can do is practice down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, sweep, up, down, up. So I can take that in isolation and really don't overlook the fact that you can really train your fretting hand well. Once again, small, precise movements or just the picking pattern in isolation. And if you can't do an exercise at 160 beats per minute with two hands, chances are you can probably legato it faster, or you can probably train yourself to do the picking hand in isolation just as fast, if not faster. Or if you're just working on going, if you can't do that up to speed, then all of a sudden you've identified that your picking hand is the hand that's holding you back. And all of a sudden you can overcome that problem just by practicing it. You can do strumming patterns. You can just sit there going, I'm not going to do these too enthusiastically because it's going to hurt me. But if you've been trying to work on your strumming pattern, you can just focus on doing that and getting that in time and getting it coordinated without worrying about any sort of chord changes with the left hand. That's going to be really great for your timing and coordination and rhythm guitar playing. You can do picking patterns in isolation. I'm not going to try those again with the injury, but for example, if I was working on Nothing Else Matters, I could be just sitting there practicing going, so it's just about making the most of the situation and going, oh, hey, you know, if I was going to the gym and I've got one broken hand, I can still go on certain machines or grab a dumbbell and do exercises with my other hand or my other arm. I can still go for a run. I can still potentially go for a swim. I can do leg exercises. So you don't just throw your hands up, no pun intended, and go, I can't play, I can't practice, because there's so much you can still do. So instead, ask yourself, what can I do? What can I practice? When I broke my hand, I'm like, oh man, what video can I do? Let's do a video about breaking your hand and being totally stuck. So at this point, guys, if all you wanted to do was learn how to play and do some cool playing stuff, you can go to another video, because I'm just going to talk for the rest of it, because at this point in time, there's no more playing. However, if you would like to learn 9 really, really awesome ways that you can continue to improve as a guitar player and a musician, despite the fact that you can't play guitar, then keep watching. And these are going to be some really, really important points if you do have a long-term injury, a broken hand, RSI, carpal tunnel, cubital tunnel, all these kind of things. So I'm going to probably speak for each one for about 30 seconds to a minute. I know I waffle on, I get it, guys, but this is the stuff that's really important, really profound. If you can get these ideas in your head, it will change how you think about guitar playing forever and have a massively popular impact. By the way, how sweet does this guitar look? Like, I'm really frustrated because about 5 minutes before the video started, I literally had this really nice angle of sunlight in, and this guitar just absolutely sparkled. This was actually, funny enough, guys, didn't plan this at all. On the back of this guitar, it says, this little inscription, "Wounds heal, chicks dig scars, and glory lasts forever." That's a quote my friend Simon used to say all the time. I don't even know why he said it, and I know he got it from that Gridiron movie. But when I had my arm surgery, I actually bought this guitar as a get well soon present to myself. So after I had my surgery, I was still actually, I think I was only playing for about 10 or 15 minutes a day at that point. I went and saw Cold Chisel for a reunion show up in Sydney with my parents, and I walked into this guitar shop, and this thing was just up on the shelf with a light under it. Play that sound effect. The angels were singing, and I knew before I even picked it up, I was going to leave with that guitar, and I played it for about my whole allocated 15 minutes of playing for that day with my hand injury. And I said to the guy, I'm going to buy this guitar, and shipped it back to Melbourne for me, which was nice. And the rest is history. This has been my trusty Stratocaster, probably the electric guitar I've had the longest. Yeah, I've gone through a few brands, but I've always kept this guitar. Anyway, I digress. The second thing you can do if you've got some sort of hand injury is practice your timing. Now, timing, you don't need an instrument in your hand to practice timing. In fact, the guitar or whatever instrument you play is only a distraction until you actually have the ability to have great timing. And again, if you're trying to play something and you have coordination issues, if you have to stop and think about what's coming up, that's going to stop you from playing in time. If you just have a metronome and some musical notation and you're just practicing your clapping, then that's going to be a really, really valuable skill to have. And this is as easy as printing off some rhythm exercises. If you go to my website, www.guitarninjas.com.au, you can actually download like a free a rhythm guitar kit to help with your timing. But literally just get some melodies, read the rhythms, and just sit there clapping the notes that you see. Or get my rhythm guitar book or my guitar workbook 1 and work through the rhythm exercises. It's going to be highly beneficial if you're learning Spain by Chick Corea, rather than try and play do-do-do-do-do-do, clap the rhythm. You might have to use 2 hands for some of those things, but that's something that's really, really important. One of my favorite guitar players, Scott Henderson, says you need 3 things as a professional guitar playing. You need a great tone, you need a great note choice, and you need great timing. If you don't have those 3 things in alignment, then even normal people are going to hear that you're not actually that great at guitar playing. So can't speak high enough to working on your rhythm and your timing, and you can do that without a guitar. Now, the next thing that we want to talk about is sight reading. Now, guitar players don't really like practicing reading music, but one thing that I've found out and I go through with all my students is the fact that, again, you don't need a guitar in your hand to try and practice reading. What really throws people off is that playing guitar is one skill, reading is another skill, and you don't have to do them at the same time. Yes, the ultimate end goal is to be able to read the notes on the page while having our fingers translate to where they are on the guitar. But in the beginning, you should just practice the reading without an instrument. The fact that people find it so hard is because they're trying to figure out these dots on this page they learned about 5 minutes earlier, and they only just started playing guitar 5 minutes ago as well, and they haven't got any sort of muscle memory. Whereas what I do with my students is I train them to play guitar separately, I train them to read separately, and a couple of weeks later we start putting 2 and 2 together, and all of a sudden we can read fluently, our fingers already work, and connecting the dots is way, way easier. So you can get any book on sight reading, you can get any just sheet music and practice reading the notes. don't worry about the rhythm at this point in time either. Just practice getting the pitches right. Read them out loud, say them forward, say them backwards. If you've got a 16-bar piece, zigzag up and down. Go through all these different ways of challenging yourself to read the music without ever worrying about playing the instrument itself. Now, the fourth thing you can do with a hand injury is just brush up on your music theory skills. Now, if you've never really been interested in music theory, it's a great time to learn. And I think a lot of musicians or aspiring guitar players, they hear that music theory is bad or it's going to kill their creativity or put them in a box, and that's just totally ignorant. Understanding music theory is vitally important. Now, do you need to know every single topic? No, I reckon if all you understand is the fundamentals like tones and semitones and how we can structure scales, the number one most important thing you need as a guitar player is how do scales work? How do I construct the major scale? The second thing is how do I use the major scale to create chords and keys? So basically stacking thirds and understanding harmony and how that works. And the third thing is basically how do I take my scale, my chords, my arpeggios and put them together in a key? And then how does the circle of fifths work? If you can understand those three things, that's basically all you need as a guitar player. And it takes literally about 2 hours to understand all those things with really long-winded explanations. You can get that in under 30 minutes. Go look up any YouTube essential music theory. There's 30-minute videos and you can easily watch a ton of them. Anyway, that is what you can do. Music theory is just learn the absolute fundamentals. Now, in addition to that, there's something called harmonic analysis, which I think is one of the most important applications of music theory that you can have. And harmonic analysis simply refers to taking a piece of music and having a look at it, identifying what the key is, identifying the structure of the melody, the structure of the harmony. What is the chord progression? Is there anything significant about it? What is the structure of the song? So just taking some time, it amazes me how many people try and learn songs without listening to the song first. It's really baffling. You put it on, you listen to the 10 seconds and you try and play it. Or you look up the tab on YouTube, you don't even listen to the song, you just try and translate what's on the page in front of you to what you remember, and you end up getting this Chinese whispers thing. But harmonic analysis refers to actually listening to the music and trying to figure out what's going on. And if you have an actual score in front of you, even if that's tab or a chord progression from Ultimate Guitar, although it may be dubious at best, being able to connect what you hear to what you see on paper is a really important skill, and that allows you to see patterns. It allows you to see the relationships. Oh, if I want this kind of sound, it looks like this on paper, therefore I can recreate that later on in my own playing. So harmonic analysis is really, really important, something you should do. The fifth thing you can do when you have a busted hand is actually write some music. Now, I used to be in a metal band called Hybrid Nightmares, and I had another wrist injury at some point. It was I had like a compressed nerve in my right wrist, the median nerve, basically giving me carpal tunnel for a couple of weeks, and I couldn't play, and that was right during the album writing process. So what did I do? I basically wrote 12 songs on Guitar Pro, and I basically brought them to guitar practice and say, hey guys, I've written some riffs, I can't actually play them for you, but here's the tabs. And I think 4 of those songs ended up making it onto the final album. The album's Almagist, and yeah, there's a bunch of songs and riffs and leads and solos that I wrote when I didn't have the use of my picking hand. So yeah, maybe I did a few little legato things here and there, but I was able to write 12 songs, 4 of which made onto the finished product of the album without a guitar in my hand most of the time. So never underestimate the fact that you can write lyrics, you can, if you've got access to technology like Guitar Pro or Logic or things like that, you can compose music very easily and even for free with a lot of the software. And don't even talk about AI at the moment. I haven't explored any AI music creation, but I'm sure there's tons of really great stuff you can use. Now, the sixth thing you can do is mental rehearsal or visualization. Now, this kind of thing needs a whole video to itself, but if you just take an experiment, right, you can close your eyes and just imagine a C chord shape. I'm doing this right now with you in real time. Now, there are a certain small percentage of the population that can't actually visualize, they don't see anything in their mind's eye. But a really great thing you can do is just close your eyes and think about a C chord and visualize your first finger on the first fret of the second string, your second finger on the second fret of the fourth string, and your third finger on the third fret of the fifth string. Hopefully you see a little chord box and little LED lights kind of light up on the fretboard where your fingers should go. Then what you want to do is imagine a G chord. Imagine a little box, a chord shape, a diagram on the fretboard with your first finger on string 5 fret 2, your second finger on string 6 fret 3, and your third finger on string 1 fret number 3. Now, that's one way of playing a G chord. Don't get super technical here. You just want to visualize that G chord and that C chord, and then visualize yourself looking down at your guitar. My eyes are shut. You can see the fretboard, and just imagine your fingers moving from a C to a G, to a C, to a G, nice and slow. Imagine your fingers going through a scale. Imagine them having smooth, precise movements. So this is what high-performing athletes do all the time, is they imagine themselves doing the perfect repetitions of whatever sport, routine, action that they've got to do. The American, his name completely escapes me, and I don't want to disrupt the video to look it up, but the best American swimmer of the last couple of Olympics, I cannot remember his name for the life of me, one of the best athletes of all time. He basically visualizes his swimming routine. He's done that every day for years. He works on it with his coach. He's got his own little mental preparation that he does, and look at the results that it's got for him. So it's called visualization. High-performing athletes do it all the time. We as guitar players can do it easily. And even if you're sitting in traffic, just doing something like memorizing the fretboard, you can go along the strings saying the E string, E is 0, F is 1, G is 3, A is 5, B is 7, C is 8, D is 10, E is 12. These are all ways you can use your mind to improve your guitar playing without having a guitar in your hand. So very, very powerful stuff. Some of you are going to think I'm crazy. Some of you are going to think it's woo-woo. But yeah, it's a very powerful tool if you choose to use it. The seventh thing that you can do if you have a hand injury is read some guitar playing books. Now, again, whether this is music theory books or some guitar philosophy, finding a book by your favorite artist. We're not talking about tabs and transcriptions at this point. We're talking about books which are going to maybe be about guitar playing, efficient practice routines, autobiographies of your favorite players. You know, there's tons of really great stuff that you can do and learn about actual guitar without the guitar in your hand once again. And if you're not the kind of person that reads, just watch some YouTube videos, find interviews with your favorite guitar players, check out a channel which talks a bit more about practice routines or guitar philosophy or how to learn things more efficiently. There's so many great ways you can learn it, and a bit more of the jazz era rather than the contemporary rock players, but so many of those really good jazz players have their own books, whether they're complete instructionals or, you know, memoirs, things like that. And look to other great musicians that inspire you. Miles Davis has got a great book. Learn how these guys think and what led to them being some of the best players in the entire world. And you can learn about that. Some of my best, biggest breakthroughs were from reading books when I couldn't use my hands. So that's an important one. Now, the eighth thing that you can do is focus on ear training. And I'm sure if you just go to Google and type in free ear training resources, then there's going to be tons of really good stuff. And training your ear, once again, is a really, really important musicianship skill, which will aid with transcription and being able to identify what you hear. Now, ear training, being able to play things by ear, it's this skill that a lot of people want, but it's just a skill you can build like anything else. Now, if I say, what color is that bag in the background? You say black. If I say, what color is this guitar? Yeah, it's kind of like a triple color blend here, but it's quite clear an orangey red guitar right here. What color shirt am I wearing? Blue. It's really easy for us to look at a color and identify it, but with enough practice, it'll get really easy to identify notes and just listen to something and hear it and go, oh, that's this, or at least in relation to the note I'm given, I can figure out what it is and then build it from here. So ear training, whether that's transcribing rhythms, whether that's identifying pitches or intervals or chord progressions, is a really great skill you can work on without the need to play guitar. Now, the ninth thing you can do, and we're getting close to the end here, guys, is fretboard memorization. One thing that made me really great at understanding my guitar fretboard was when I had to get the train into university every day when I lost my license for being a silly boy. What I ended up doing was basically sitting on the train with a notebook and just drawing out fretboard diagrams. I would draw chords from memory. I would draw where the notes are on the fretboard. I would draw scale patterns, and that really helped me connect a visual pattern to where the notes were on the guitar, and it helped me understand this wonderful instrument in far greater detail. And again, you can do this by drawing things. You can do this by looking at your guitar and just saying, oh, where are all the C notes? We've got a C here, we've got a C here, we've got a C here, and a C here, and a C here, and a C here. How many ways can I play a C chord? I've got a triad here, triad here, triad here, triad here, triad here, a triad here, triad here. I'm not even including the octaves. C triad, C triad, C triad, C triad, C triad, C triad. So I can do all that and find my chord shapes and my triads. I can run through scale patterns once again with one hand without trying to trigger sound. So yeah, it totally sucks when your hand doesn't work. And yeah, of course, playing and hearing that sound is the ultimate gratifying thing. But you can't necessarily always do that. So make the most of the situation. Now guys, it's been 25 minutes or so. It's been a much longer video than I anticipated, and I really do appreciate the fact you've stuck with me for this long. But we are now at the end, and the final piece of advice or final means of practicing and improving when your hand doesn't work. Number 10 is try singing. If you can't play guitar, go get some singing lessons for a couple of weeks. I think whether you have a naturally great sounding voice or not, learning to sing and learning how to shape your voice a bit better and control it is an amazingly powerful skill. Whether that's so that you can sing your own songs, whether it's so you can provide some backing vocals, whether it's so you can just add a guide vocal track to a song you've written which you're giving to someone else. Singing is a very, very important skill, and most importantly, it just makes you feel good. You know, I believe everyone can learn how to play guitar, but I also believe everyone with a bit of practice can sound pretty half decent. And nothing is more fun than when you get a great song and you sing along. Nothing makes a better experience at a party than when you can pick up a guitar and initiate a sing along. Yes, be that guy. It's quite fun, actually. So am I a great singer? No. Do I love singing? Yes. And I think almost every person watching this loves to sing. And it's just such a valuable skill. And if you don't like singing, try taking piano lessons, even though, again, you're probably going to be one-handed for a little while. Playing other instruments is fun. And if you can find one like harmonica, which only needs one hand, like a theremin, I suppose you probably need a theremin, 2 hands for a theremin and things like that. You can do some basic stuff on a drum with one hand. But guys, that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for paying attention. If you are suffering from a guitar-related injury, I have some videos on how to overcome RSI, some stretches to do if you've got lots of chronic pain and things like that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, guys, my story goes along the lines of I had an arm injury for 2 years, tried everything. Turns out I actually did need surgery to fix it, but with the exceptions of actual skeletal issues or breaks or something like that, anything like RSI, carpal tunnel, cubital tunnel, tendonitis, they're all overuse injuries, and most overuse injuries stem from bad posture and bad practice habits. So if you do have any of those diagnoses, watch my videos on those. I'll try and get them to pop up and link below. And I do have articles on my website. If you type in Melbourne Guitar Academy, RSI or hand injuries or things like that, they pretty much come up as number 1 on Google. I couldn't play guitar for 2.5 years, guys. I had that taken away from me. And that's what resulted in me coming up with all these different ways to practice and improve. For me, giving up guitar was never an option. I just had to do it. But it forced me to come up with all these other ways to improve my guitar playing and my musicianship. So if you are suffering from pain, I do feel bad for you. I'm more than happy to jump on a Zoom call and go over some things and help you with what helped me on my experience. Again, I'm not a doctor. Anything you've learned from this video should be used in conjunction with the advice from a medical professional. But if you do need help overcoming any sort of guitar-related pain or RSIs, or just becoming a better guitar player with the time you can't have a guitar in your hand, I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, give me a like and subscribe. If you've had your own little issues or injuries, reach out to me or just comment below. And if you know someone who's had to give up guitar because of an injury, or you know someone who's going through a hard time, then share this video. I'd really appreciate the opportunity to help some other people. So thank you so much. Thank you for putting up with my empty house and my hairy legs and everything like that. And I'll see you in the next video.